Hey,
What's up? What's up? What's up?
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. What's going on with you?
So glad we're doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. Seriously, I know you're a very busy man, so I do really appreciate it. How is your day going?
So far, so good. Just we did our group meditation not too long ago. Now the
Hmm.
second one is actually happening. It starts in 2 minutes.
Now, right?
Yeah, without me. So it has it all. It's all set, so people can join in if they want to. And then I'll probably join in again on the third session, which will happen at 9. So yeah.
I got to tune in. I really enjoyed it. So thank
Oh
you for
yeah.
even doing that.
You tuned in at 3, right?
Yes,
Nice, nice, nice.
I
Yeah.
wanted to at least get something in to, get ready before this, and I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait because I have so many questions for you, and really can't wait to get into it. So we're just gonna give people another second or
Okay.
so to get in. Let me set this up here, and then we will get started. And I just tweeted about it as well, so we're good to go. Thank you, everyone who's coming in. I'm sure more people will filter through. And to anyone who misses it, I will be posting it on YouTube afterwards, on the Zachariah Highgate channel. It'll also be on the playlist with all the other IG Live episodes, so people will be able to watch that there. I think. And these sessions that you're doing right now,
Hmm.
for Brianna Taylor, those you have more sessions coming up as well, right?
Yeah,
Like tomorrow, for example.
it takes place every day, or at least until I'm called back into work. But it takes place every day at 3, and then of course if an incident happens, whatever, I'll do special ones where we can meditate together and focus on meditating for the family and things like that. So when those come up, they come up. But that wasn't the purpose of these sessions. It's just something that I thought of to say, well, you know what? The studies are showing that meditation and prayer helps on a larger scale. When people meditate together or pray together, it can have an effect on a larger scale. So I just came up with an
Mhm.
idea. Well, let's do that for people who may be suffering at the moment. So I know we had a couple of losses, but the families are still there. So it's like, well, is there any way that we can send some kind of a blessing, whatever, to the families?
And I really respect that because I think for me personally, I can say when a lot of these tragedies come out, the first thing I'm always thinking of is like, how are the families doing? How are they coping? Because even once it gets, it gets the media attention, it gets, so many opinions come out, there's actions taken.
Yeah,
Those families have to grieve while dealing with that. Like
exactly.
it's not, they don't get to separate it. So I always think that's the first thing I always think of is like, how are they doing during this time?
Yeah, and also for us too, how are we dealing with it? And if we're going to go out and help the world, we got to make sure that we're right as well. So let's get our stuff together so we can go out and help those who may be in need. So yeah, I'm just trying to put it out there as much as possible for anyone who feels they want to meditate in a group setting, because studies also shows that if a person's going through spiritual growth or mental emotional growth, they actually evolve faster when they do it together as a group. So yeah,
Oh.
so I always do my individual sessions. I do that every single day. I've never stopped. I've been doing that every single day for 17 years. But now I'm getting into doing more group meditations with people, so that not only for my own growth, but for everybody else that does it together. So I'm always looking for science to prove what's going on, because I don't want to waste my time working on something and it doesn't work. So I always look for the science, and I add that in to see if the science is holding up. Then I said, okay, I can move forward in doing certain things without wasting 25 years of practice and not knowing what the results are going to be. Right. So I don't want to just go by belief alone. So I use both.
And I hear you on that. That's a very great way of logically thinking through it as well, even though it has such a huge spiritual component.
Yeah.
So I think we will get started. So everyone, thank you for coming. To those who come in later, thank you for watching. I want to preface this really quickly with saying I did recognize, especially with the times, everything that is going on. And I didn't want to continue the series without being conscientious of that
Mm.
and doing stuff that could potentially assist with everything going on. So the reason I reached out to Morgan, and thank you to Words with Michelle for connecting us. I really appreciated that.
Uh-huh.
Um, his work is so powerful. Yinnergy is amazing, and we'll get into it. But I thought that on the road to looking for change, trying to find justice, we have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves as well. I can personally say I found, there were some days I just felt really angry in the last week or so with things going on, and not even really realizing how angry or upset I was until it would come out in random ways. And I'd be like, okay, we kind of need to take care of this because I want to be strong. I want to be someone who can help other people, but I also have to make sure I'm helping myself as well
Mm-hmm.
so I can be at my best for that. So I wanted to make sure that anything we do moving forward with the series is somehow helpful, that it's supportive of everything going on, and that we are kind of building bridges along the way. So thank you so much, Morgan, for being here today. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So yeah, thank you. And people may not know, but and I totally forgot. I'm so sorry that we met back in the day. And when you met me, I was a different artist. I was so young, and going through so many things when we met, and you just gave me such amazing advice as an artist, and I really appreciated that, and I never ever forgot that advice, and I kept that with me. So to be able to connect with you like this is God's plan to me. So I'm really grateful to have you here. So thank you.
I always wondered what
Um,
happened to you because I remember when we did a couple of songwriting sessions when I was doing the songwriting workshops at the spot, and you just disappeared. I was like, whatever happened to that guy?
I ended up I started working ended up working at the CNE, which was
Oh,
another nightmare. And then things just went in a totally different direction. Then I was back in school, so it just wasn't feasible anymore for me
yeah.
to be around, unfortunately. But luckily, still an artist, still working, still in the studio somewhere. So
Were you playing guitar at the time?
no, 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 no.
No, okay.
I was just rapping
You were
at the
just
time.
rapping,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Someone was
Mhm.
playing guitar. Yeah. Okay. I'm just. Yeah. There was a few of us that were there at the time. Yeah. Good to see you.
There was so much talent there. I
Oh yeah.
mean, unbelievable. So, so what if we could? So hopping right in for the people who don't know, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Uh, well, my name is Morgan. They call me Morgan O. Smith. Um, I'm a youth worker. I'm a meditator, a meditation facilitator, teacher. I'm also a Reiki healer, but I don't use Reiki much. But I'm trained in it. But you know, if someone wants a freebie, I'll probably give it to them. But yeah, I don't use it much unless I'm using it on my children and stuff like that. But I am trained in Reiki, um, trained in sound physics, and also audio engineering as well. So a lot of that stuff plays a role in what I'm doing now in regards to Yinnergy, which is a sound technology which meditates you. Originally, I'm from the entertainment industry. I did start off as a singer, a songwriter, a music producer. I went into stand-up comedy, did that stand-up comedy for about 14 years. Out of the 14 years, I ended up doing a TV show for 9 of those years. I'm a Gemini award-winning writer, and the list goes on. I've left that business in the last 15 years, I think it is now. And I've been doing youth work and work with meditation ever since. Actually, when I was in the entertainment business, the last 2 years of the entertainment business, that's when I started meditation. And I slowly faded out and then took 2 years off from everything. I didn't work for 2 years and then eventually went into youth work.
Wow. So what really got you into meditation, especially when you were still in the entertainment business and
Mm.
still dealing with all the things that come with that? What made you slowly make that transition?
I there were a lot of people that I used to mentor in the business, and there was people that I used to give like advice to who needed emotional support and things like that. I had a friend, still my friend. Her name's Andrea Bain. If anyone knows her from the entertainment business, uh, we used to talk a lot at that time, and I was expressing to her that I was looking for some kind of way to tap into more of my creative side. Of course, I was already extremely creative, but when you're doing a TV show and you got to come up with material for the stand-up comedy clubs and all that, you keep running out. You're just like looking for ways to how can I get more material? How can I get more of that? You know, sometimes you're suffering from writer's block and things like that. So I went to her because I knew that she went to a hypnotherapist at one point to help her with auditions. I think that's what it was because it was so long ago. So I said, you know what, I should try that. So I asked her a little bit about hypnosis. So I decided to book an appointment with an organization that were doing hypnosis sessions. And so when I went there, they were using these light and sound machines with their hypnosis sessions. So I was intrigued by that. So I asked what that was all about, and I was told that they use these light and sound machines to slow down your brain waves. So they flash light in your eyes. So it has a device where it flashes light in your eyes, and then you put on the earphones, so you hear these tones in the ears, and then you get the light that's flashing simultaneously with the sound tones, and it changes and slows down your meditative states. So when I was doing these hypnosis sessions with this hypnotherapist, I realized the results that I was getting from it. It made me extremely creative. I was able to go back and rewrite stuff, and I'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with all these great ideas. And I was like, wow, I really love this technology. What is this technology? So after a while, I ended up buying two machines of my own, two devices of my own. I gave one to my friend, Tara, and I used the other one. So we were both using them together. After a while, and after getting all these amazing results, it stopped working, right? The
Hmm.
results weren't happening anymore. I was like, what the hell's going on? So I didn't know anything much about binaural beats and sound and stuff like that. So later on, I just had this real urge that I wanted to do something more. I wanted to seek some. I needed something more. I wanted to tap in deeper into something, but I didn't know what it was. And then I ran into this organization online called Centerpoint Research, and they have a product called HoloSync, and HoloSync is a brainwave technology that's used for meditation. So I was reading the claims that they were making on their website, and the claims just sounded way too outrageous. I'm like, there's no way there's a technology that does all these things that they were claiming. So I was intrigued by it, and I was curious. So I decided to order the sample CDs that they had at the time. And we're going way back. So we're going back where we weren't able to download these things online. So you had to place an actual order and wait for an actual product to come in the mail. So I had to wait a few weeks for this product to come in the mail. So the product comes in the mail. I tried it, and of course it's Bill Harris, who is he passed away now, but it was Bill Harris he's doing the introduction about HoloSync. So he gives you a lighter version of what HoloSync is while he's talking to you. So I listened to it. I didn't find anything extraordinary, but I didn't know much about the technology at the time. So, but I was intrigued enough to say I wanted to order the actual package. Now, the actual course is pretty expensive for the average person, but of course, I was doing TV and stuff like that, so it was easily affordable. So, I ordered the first level, and the very first night when it came in, a few weeks later, the very first night I'm using it, and I don't know how many people in the audience know anything about chakras, but at the time I didn't know what those things were. But the top of my head started pulsing, which is this crazy pulsing on the top of my head. Never felt that before, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" So it was enough for me to keep going. So I started doing using this product every day, and then in around about the 2 week mark, all these strange things started happening. And I won't go into all the things that happened, but a lot of strange things started happening. And then it got to the point where I kept on using it, and then I realized I was getting high, and all these weird things were happening. I was getting intoxicated and at the time I didn't drink. All
Hmm.
these strange things were happening. So I just kept going with it and just kept going with it. After when the show ended, this is like now 2 years later, the show ended, and we all went our separate ways. And at that time, I wasn't doing anything for 2 years, and I just kept going. And then all these strange mystical things started happening, spiritual experiences started happening, all these things that if I told you, most people wouldn't even believe me. And it just floored me. And then from then on, I just kept going and kept going until other things started happening. And then experiencing Satori, spiritual enlightenment, mystical experiences, lucid dreaming, all these strange things that I thought was strange at the time started happening, and they still happen. And that's how I got into this whole thing, really.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's an amazing experience.
Yeah. The most
Wow.
mind blowing experiences of my entire life. Yeah.
So could you tell us then, as that transitions into what you now have as Yinnergy, which is brainwave technology, using binaural beats, how did that come to be? And could
Well,
you tell us what exactly it is for those who don't know?
well, binaural beats it's really simple. Binaural beats are sine waves. They're just tones, just sound tones. And if you use sound tones in a certain way by using a frequency in one ear and using a slightly different frequency in the other ear, in the center of your brain, it creates a beat frequency. So if you have one sound that's going boo, and another sound's going boo, together in the center of your brain, you'll hear a tone like a wah, 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 wah sound. And that
Hmm.
wah, wah, wah sound, depending on the frequency of that sound, your brain waves will resonate to that sound. So that will mimic brainwaves that's been studied in through meditation and things like that. So the same brainwaves that happens through meditation, your brain starts to resonate to those type of frequencies, and that's how you get the meditation. So now you're able to, by having that knowledge, you're able to meditate without the effort.
I see. Wow. Well, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
so with Yinnergy, how did that end up coming into all of that that you were working on?
After using Holosync for a very long time, actually earlier on, so I was probably about 3 years in at this point. 3 years in, I was really curious about this whole thing, and I wanted to find a way if I could make this stuff myself. But I didn't want to give up Holosync because it was such a great product. So I wanted to see if I could make these things myself. So I actually called up Centerpoint Research, just asking them questions, and the guy who I was talking to on the phone at the time realized that I was really kind of like a bit of a techie. So he gave me information of how to make them. So
Oh.
yeah, so I went back, downloaded some software, and started trying to make these tones myself. And at first, they were very rough. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. But as time went on, and I learned more about binaural beats, this is back in 2006, I believe. Yeah, 2006. That's when I started to figure it out because I had to learn how beat frequencies work, what were pitch frequencies, and what were carrier frequencies. And once I was able to figure out the carrier frequencies, because that's the main juice for Holosync and also for Yinnergy, I had to find out how that worked because at the beginning, when I was making these frequencies, I didn't know anything about the carrier frequency. If the carrier frequency is too strong and a person uses it over a period of time, it will cause something that's called Kundalini syndrome. And what happens with Kundalini syndromes is a lot of anything that you've been repressing mentally and emotionally will come up to the surface, even physical stuff. So, for example, just say if you have a tattoo, an old tattoo, just say this tattoo is 20 years old. And for those who have tattoos, you'll know that when you get a tattoo, it starts to itch and it starts to peel when it's healing for the first 14 days, whatever it is. When you start meditating and you're doing a lot of that, and the carrier frequency is too powerful, the tattoos is because it's considered a scar will start to itch because your body has memory. So all of those things can come up to the surface. So anything that you're holding back, because all those things are forms of trauma. We see it as social, whatever things that we just do in our culture, but the body sees it as trauma. So when you're tearing the skin and putting ink in this, it just sees it as a form of trauma. So your body stores that information. So when you start meditating, and if the frequencies are too low, the itching or the pain will come back. So you can even feel the pain of you getting the tattoo, and you can also feel the itching of when the tattoo is healing. So those things can come up to the surface, and many other things can happen. Anything that, say, anything that's emotional can come up to the surface. Any psychological stuff can come up to the surface, and so on and so on. So you got to be really careful when you're dealing with the carrier frequency, because the carrier frequency gives it its strength. And the carrier frequency is a good thing. It's just you don't want to give a powerful carrier frequency to someone too soon. You got to work your way to it. So that's how we build the program. So you start off slow, light. You start off light with a lighter carrier frequency. And as time goes on, I give you a more powerful frequency as time goes on if you actually went through the whole entire program of Yinnergy. So 2006, I started experimenting with this stuff. And by 2010, that's when I came up with Yinnergy. And in about 2012, around then, I stopped using Holosync because at that point I perfected Yinnergy and I started using Yinnergy and I put away Holosync because it saved me a lot of money not using Holosync. But don't get me wrong, Holosync is probably one of the best products in the world. So.
Wow. Could I ask you really quick then, with what you were saying about the carrier frequencies, is there, and I see as you say there's a gradual build up if that's how you want to go about your meditation journey and like that road to spiritual awareness, but would you say then, is there ever a situation where having that higher frequency, if someone, like it could be helpful to someone if they have something that's repressed, like you said?
Oh, sorry, say that again. I was reading a comment from my old producer. My old producer, Mike McKinnon. He's the guy that gave me my start in the TV business. So I just want to say thank you to Mike. Yeah, that's my boy right
Oh,
here.
wow.
I'm gonna read his message. I'm gonna have to hit him up later. Yeah.
No, I was just saying with the carrier frequencies, like with a stronger frequency, is there ever a situation where someone could benefit from that because they have things that are repressed and they want to confront
Mm.
those, deal with those? Is that something, is that a possibility as well, or is it better to just have the gradual build up?
Depending on the person, they could benefit from that, but you don't want to traumatize the person. So it's better to give it to them, because what could happen is if the carrier frequencies are too low, you may end up having an extreme mystical experience that will absolutely blow your mind. But what thing people have to understand about meditation, meditation is also a double-edged sword. So whatever you get positively, you're also going to get negatively. So you don't want to give someone an experience that's so powerful and then they end up having the absolute opposite of that, or the total opposite of that. So it's not a good idea. So it's better to do it gradually, because those things will happen anyway. But you want to give the nervous system, the brain and the nervous system, bit by bit, so that you can
So it can
gradually
take it
get there. Yeah, it's just too much for the nervous system and the brain.
I see. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. Thank you for explaining that. I wanted to ask then because what ended up happening before this interview, I did want to, you know what I mean, sit in some sessions and know what, you know, because I wanted to have a better idea before I spoke with you. And the other night, I went on your YouTube channel and I saw that you had some guided sessions. And I
Mm-hmm.
personally, just speaking from my own experience, I really like guided meditation, like period. I really enjoy it. I find my mind can be very scattered. So having someone like a voice or something there to explain, okay, think about this, kind of, you know, feel your body in this way. I personally really enjoy that kind of meditation. So I went and I started listening, and I wasn't even like a minute in, and I could just feel myself like leaving the room. I'm like, hold on, let me get comfy, let me, because I was just sitting at my table. I'm like, oh, I'll play this kind of in the background while I'm doing something else. And I could not, I was like, no, I'm okay. I feel you. I get it. It was that fast that I felt a difference. And I was like, okay, let me just go sit in a quiet room, sit on the floor and try it again. So what I would really like to know from you then is what would you say are the different benefits then from doing something like a guided session, which is one I watched of yours on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and something different like that's a little more free form, kind of like the sessions you're doing right now, the one for Breonna Taylor, which I was just in, where it's more like it's just a meditation session that it's that individual kind of tapping into themselves.
This is my personal opinion, and based on watching people when they're meditating, guided meditation actually doesn't do anything. It's really
Okay.
more for the ego. So, in that sense, it's
Oh, okay.
beneficial, right? Some people just has different. Some people have different preferences. So, some people like yourself like the guided stuff because you want someone to guide you in. It's beneficial if you're talking about traditional meditation, because you may need someone's voice to give you that focus to get into the meditation. But with brainwave entrainment, you don't need guided meditation. You don't need any other devices. The binaural beats meditates you. So anything that I put on top of that is just a bonus. It's just decoration to the binaural beats. Yeah, but a lot of people do like guided. So just for the sake of it, I'll put some in there for certain people. I don't do that on the program itself, but for the sake of YouTube, I would put some guided meditation on there. But the guided meditation itself doesn't really have a great benefit, except for if I'm walking through the forest and I don't know where I'm going, it's probably better to go with a guide as opposed to you doing it yourself, right? But with binaural beats, it meditates you, so none of that is really needed. And but yeah, so it's good for that purpose. The purpose, what we're trying to do with Yinnergy is, I'm thinking about the long-term goal. I'm trying to get people to evolve. So this is the thing that a lot of people don't have right in the Western world. In the Western world, we look at meditation as like mindfulness, something that will calm me down, something that will help, ease chaotic feelings inside of you, so that you can go about your day. But I'm going from the Eastern tradition, where I'm trying to get people, if they're interested in that, I'm trying to get people to evolve as human beings, so that they can reach Satori, reach spiritual enlightenment, reach all those states. So that's what I'm mainly concerned about. But a lot of people in the West are not there yet. So you start people off slow. That's why a lot of people will only get through the first level of Yinnergy, because spiritual enlightenment and Satori is not, people can't even fathom that. So they'll just stop at level 1 and they'll just stick with that. They just want to be calm and get throughout the day. Where there's a smaller group of people, they're trying to reach and try to get to the point what it means to reach ultimate truth. So that is the main purpose. But of course, the customer, the market is based on people who want to do guided and wants to do short term, get the short term fix. So Yinnergy does that too. But if you go on with Yinnergy, you can realize that you can reach states of, you can actually reach permanent bliss and things like that. So there's a bigger benefit with it if you stick with it long term and going through all the different levels.
Do you think that also has to do with maybe the Western world's? kind of idea around like things are very compartmentalized, they're very kind of conveniently done, and people think sometimes in those terms like we don't there isn't, you're right, it's almost like the short-term satisfaction and so I can get through my day or something versus how does long term, how does this like change my life and change how I look at life and look at everything around me? Do you think that's kind of like almost like a byproduct of the Western world?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. A lot of us here in the Western world, the information that's been fed to us is it's really made. It's made for the consumer, right? So this is the culture that we've created. It's made for the consumer. And if you look at the consumer is going to look at, well, if I go to an amusement park and I have a fun day at, I don't know, Canada's Wonderland, as opposed to what if I went to a retreat and something at the retreat changed my whole entire life. All right, so it's yeah, I would say it's because of culture, why we are the way we are, and it's meant to be that way. So I'm not saying that needs to change or anything like that. But for the small group of people within the Western culture who's seeking for something more, because there is permanent bliss, there is permanent happiness. All those things do exist, and any one of us can actually get there if you're willing to put in the work.
Wow, that no, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So then with doing Yinnergy and with what can people do to ensure that whether they're new or whether they've done it for a while and they're doing the sessions, what can they do to ensure that they're getting the most out of a session?
With the energy, while doing, all they have to do is sit there with their eyes closed, right? They don't really have to do anything. But if you want to enhance it to a small degree, you can use something that's called pranayama. That just means breathing exercises. So you can do certain breathing exercises if to because that it does enhance it a little bit more. You can do mudras. That's what you use with your fingers. You can use mantras. Mantras is repeating an actual chant. So it could be Om Mani Padme Hum, things like that. So it'll enhance it a bit. You can use any other traditional meditation technique and do it with the energy if you choose to do that. But really, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is sit there with your eyes closed, and the technology is designed to meditate you. But
Okay,
personally, I
so
do
then
both. I do the traditional meditation technique, and I use the energy at the same time.
okay, so that okay, then that
Yeah.
that, that makes sense then. Okay.
Because
Then I'll have to do that.
after 17 years of using this, it gets boring sometimes sitting there for an hour every single day. So it's okay. Let me change it up a bit. Let me do this technique. Let me do that. Let me do this type of breathing. Let me do alternate nostril breathing. And so that's why I do that, but I don't have to.
Okay. Okay. Well, good to know. Someone in the comments, I'm just going really quickly. I could fart plantain in my sleep says, sit, good headphones, and a space where you can't be bothered.
Oh, that's my boy. That's my boy John. How you doing, bro? Yeah. Yeah, headphones are needed with this technology. So, and there have been people who who bought the product, and they were getting benefits from it, and then they would tell me something, and I was like, "You're not using headphones, are you?" It's like, "No, I'm not using headphones." I'm like, "You got to use headphones." So the headphones, because the way how the binaural beats are structured, there's certain beats in one ear and one in the other ear. So you got to use headphones so that your brain can synchronize, because you're trying to create whole brain thinking, which will allow the two hemispheres of the brain to synchronize.
I see. Okay. And you mentioned that to me. I see you mention it when you post about sessions to always
Yeah,
have like earphones and headphones. So
have
that's
headphones or
very clear.
earbuds.
Yes, exactly. Okay. I have a this is a question that wasn't actually from me. It's from my one of my best friends. So I was telling her about that we were going to be doing this interview, and she wanted to know, and I personally actually when she said it, I was like, oh, I want to know that too. But can you use Yinnergy in your sleep as well? Because and
Mm.
the reason I think she even asked is one thing that she would do, especially when studying, was use white noise, for example, to clear the mind. I know people who have done like the positive affirmations that you can sleep with, and they just repeat. They're on loop, like on YouTube, for example. So, is that something? So, can you do something similar with Unity, or do you have to be in a meditative state and you have to be up and doing it consciously?
Truthfully, you can do whatever you want. You can do Yinnergy with your eyes open. You can do Yinnergy while jogging. You can do it while doing yoga if you can keep the headphones in. You can do it while staring at a candle flame. You can do whatever you want. But I don't have studies to show that. So I don't have the studies to show that if you do it with eyes open, you'll get this result. So I always recommend people to do it based on the studies that we do have. And the studies show that when you have your eyes closed, sitting up straight, you get the best results. But Have there been times where I had to lay on my back and do it? I've done that a few times. It will still work. The technology will still work. We just feel that it's better if you're sitting up with your back straight. Is because there is an energy, which I meant, the word I mentioned before was kundalini, which is at the tailbone of your spine, and that energy needs to travel up the spine. So we feel that it's better if your back is straight. If the spine is straight, that energy can move smoothly, as opposed to you laying on your back. But you can lay on your back and you still get great results. And to answer your friend's question, you can do it while sleeping. You can do it while sleeping if you choose to. But I'm coming from the old school where it's about discipline. So I'm trying to get people to stay awake and try to meditate so that they can practice that discipline. But if that's too hard for you and you feel like using it as a sleep aid, you can do that. And you're still going to get a lot of the results from doing that. And maybe the results are better. We just don't have the results, the scientific information to prove that.
Okay, okay, interesting. Well, good
Yeah.
to know. I really, even the first time I did it, I really enjoyed it because I really felt like it made me think about different things that I wasn't thinking about. It really did. It was really was like a mind shift.
Yeah.
So that's something I really enjoyed about it. One thing I also want to know then, given the climate we're in, given everything that's been going on, and especially with you saying that you do make time to do it every single day, how do people ensure that they are doing that? Because I'll say in one of my best friend group chats, we're always like talking about mindfulness, talking about meditation, and then we'll catch up in a week and be like, oh, so did you meditate this week? And it was like, and so it's, and I don't feel it's that I don't want to do it or that it's not something that, I think I would benefit from. I don't know, just time just flies, and it's not it's an excuse. It's an excuse. But it's how are we making sure, especially because now with everything that's going on, and even after, not to say that this will be over, but to say when let's say people are in a lighter state of mind, for example, how are they still ensuring that they're making that time to do
Um, the thing about us, which is we we in the West, we wait until something goes wrong to meditate. When the purpose of meditation, at least one of the purposes of meditation, is to meditate so that you're prepared when things go wrong. So sometimes you talk to some, like I have friends too who they can't keep that commitment, and they'll be like, oh, you know what, I'm going through a lot of stress lately. I should start doing your meditation. And I'm like, you could avoid all that stress if you started doing it 2 years ago. All right. So all the stuff that's happening now, I'm affected by it, but I'm not in the same state that everybody else is in. I'm able to deal with this and a whole lot more because some of the things that happens during meditation, which I don't want to scare anybody off, but at the moment of Satori, just before you break through and you have this experience of enlightenment, you go through a lot of suffering. So there's a suffering, amount of suffering that leads up to that. And the amount of suffering that you go through is the worst amount of suffering you can ever go through. So every possible thing that's ever happened in human culture, within our human development, all that stuff is experienced. So every murder is experienced, every death is experienced, every rape is experienced, every assault is experienced, every assassination is experienced, every type of hunger is experienced, every type of pain is experienced, every type of mental pain is experienced before you break through. So after you have an experience like that and survive that, this is nothing. And don't get me wrong, what's happening is brutal. But to survive all of that and to have this happening, I'm able to withstand that because of surviving those states before hitting Satori. So
so it's more about being preemptive then
yeah,
than just
yeah. So the advice is don't wait for something to go wrong to meditate. Do that in preparation of things going wrong because meditation prepares you for the worst day of your life.
Okay, wow. No, that's that. It reminds me, I don't want to make the comparison because I'm not well versed in either art, but it reminds me when people say when they're working out, especially, and you reach that point where you feel like you can't do it anymore and you have to push through at that moment.
Do
The
that
way you're
last
saying
breath.
it, it's almost like, yeah, you have to push through, and that's when you kind of can get over that hurdle. So it does remind me of that, and it's interesting. I do believe that, there's especially when you're doing it consistently and you are like going up the levels as you have with Yinnergy, for example, that you're experiencing different things, and you're right, and with it being spiritual enlightenment, the whole point is to keep ascending. So
Yeah.
that definitely makes a lot of sense to me then. Also, I was wondering then,
But
especially because we
let me just say though, I'm not recommending anyone to do that. That's a
Okay.
personal choice. So I'm not saying if you join up, you got to do all that. You don't have, you can stay at level one and not worry about any of that. But because I'm the type of person that I want it all. So I realized I had to go through that personal torment before moving into the other stages to the point where you hit your peak, where you hit Satori. But I'm not recommending anyone should do that. But if that's your thing, you have to look forward to that because that will happen.
And I think, I think it's important that you mentioned that because having that kind of level system is that, because you're right, some people, everyone has their limit or where they see themselves in the, you know what I mean? So they may not everyone is thinking about that. Not everyone wants that at the end of the day. And that's a very good
Yeah,
point. So I'm
and
glad that you met.
not everyone's meant to have that, right?
No,
So
right.
yeah, so that's the other thing too. So there's a certain type of person that's meant who has the threshold or is able to develop that threshold to have that experience because once you hit that part right before Satori, I can't even tell you the pain, the physical, emotional, and mental pain you got to go through to hit that next peak. Because when I say all suffering, I really mean all suffering. It's not an exaggeration. It's all suffering. You even take on the suffering of animals.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why the first time I had Satori, I gave up meat. I haven't touched meat again in, is it 11 years now? That's what happened the first time I had Satori. I gave up meat because I understood the suffering of animals.
Wow. You know what? I really do because you can't because I follow, people on YouTube who talk a lot about spirituality and stuff, and it's not something where you can just kind of like walk in, you kind of get this great benefit, you feel all these great things, and there's nothing that comes with that because that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
So I definitely hear what you're saying, and nothing comes for nothing. So there's always going to be a pull and push, and I really do hear everything you're saying. And I believe that. And I think it's important that people know that it's not just something because I feel like that's also a thing with the Western world is like because all this stuff that you're talking about, like how you were bringing up from the Eastern world, is nothing new.
Yeah.
But
Like
in the
5,000
Western
years old.
world, yeah, when it comes here, it's suddenly like this. It's a trend, you know what I mean? It's gluten free, it's vegan,
Yeah.
it's
We
all
love our
these things
trends.
yeah, we exactly. So it's nothing that's new under the sun, but when it comes here, it's put into these little packages that are easy for people to, you know what I mean, consume and digest and be a part of. But if they want to see those long-term goals, there will be, there's no pain, no gain. So I 100% hear exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you feel like you've kind of already answered this a bit, but with being proactive, about meditation, especially if in the future you want to be able to handle, difficult endeavors or things that happen then. I guess it kind of ties into that a little bit, but how do we make sure that we are kind of keeping our emotions in check and and being stable and being able to kind of like handle difficult situations that come up like that have come up now because life is always going to be like that. So how are people maybe like you've already mentioned be more proactive about preparing, I guess, a little bit yourself and being good within yourself to handle these kind of things.
I would recommend shadow work. So for those who don't know what shadow work is, because there's different types of practices for shadow work. But shadow work pretty much is learning how to deal with your personal shadows, dealing with your dark shadows. So I won't get into it much here, but if anyone wants to hit me up later, they can ask me about that. But there's different forms of shadow work that allows you to face your inner demon. And a lot of stuff that we're going through is because there's a demon that we haven't faced. So don't get me wrong. If I'm the victim of something, I'm not blaming me. Me as the victim shouldn't be blamed of what's happening. But what I'm saying is, when something truly affects you, it's because what you're seeing, there's something inside of you that reflects that. So if you're able to deal with that inner demon inside, because the thing is, we're capable of all those things that are happening right now. Every human being is
Mm-hmm.
capable of that, right? So we have these things that's in our id that that lies dormant. And for some people, of course, some of these things manifest into either good or manifest as something evil. But if you're able to tap into all the things that that lies dormant, that's evil, and you're able to face those inner demons, you are able to face that abuser. You're able to face that murder. You're able to face the person who assaulted or whatever the case is. If you're able to face that inner demon, I really believe that I can sit in the room with a KKK member and have a conversation with him and not want to tear him apart. I believe I can actually do that.
Wow.
Yeah, because I have had experiences of being the KKK member and seeing things from their perspective.
Through, I see,
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm not saying I'm justifying what he does. I'm saying I see the perspective. So now that I see the perspective and I can see without judgment, now I can heal. Now I can forgive that person. Still, that person still needs to deal with the consequences, whatever the case is. But it can be done out of love. It doesn't have to be done out of hate. So I really believe
Wow.
that I can face any of these people in a room and not want to tear them apart because I understand that perspective. I don't agree with the perspective, but I understand where they're coming from.
And that's interesting, I think, too, with everything that you said today, that there's such a big there's so much to do with point of view and where you're coming from and how it's almost interesting to me when I think about spiritual enlightenment after speaking with you now. It's almost like once you reach a certain level, you can see kind of from a different you're seeing from a different perspective now mortal things, you know what I mean? And the things that maybe on a day to day we don't think of, maybe enough to have different perspectives or have more of a perspective than the one we have from
For
ourselves,
ourselves,
right?
yeah.
Um, so I think that's really interesting, like that point of view changes maybe from like a direct one-on-one to seeing things a little more
From a broader
from above. So
from
I
a
think,
broader standpoint, because at first it's all about me, and then it becomes us. But that type of us, I may only be talking about my family, or I'm talking about my social circle, or I'm talking about my racial group, or I'm talking about my gender. So now that gets bigger, and you say us. Now that includes all human beings, and then I keep saying us, and that spans into animals and all life forms. And you keep going up, and then it doesn't just include what's happening on planet Earth. Now I'm talking about what's happening in the galaxy or in the solar system, what's happening in the galaxy, what's happening in many galaxies, and what's happening in the entire universe. Because what happens in the moment of enlightenment, you experience being the entire universe. But you have to keep going
wow.
up, though. Us. And after that, there is no us. After that is I am that. And when you reach that point of I am that, that's when you realize that you are Brahman, which is, you can say, this is not the correct term or the correct definition, but you can say it's the Hindu version of what they see as God. But it's different from the Christian perspective because the Christian perspective is very limited in terms of how they see God. So if you take Brahman and you take it from the largest perspective that includes absolutely everything in the entire universe, an individual can experience that. So it comes from the me, to the us, or the we, up to when there is no we, there is no me, there is no us. All there is presence.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I have so many thoughts on that I would love to because it's just like that really would be just amazing to just be in that kind of present state because I feel like when we live in these times where there's so much going on and there's so much in our face and there's so much deliberately, you know what I mean? Especially in the Western world, we're just seeing so much. And you're right, it's so much about the me perspective. It's so interesting to think of seeing things from such a different light and seeing things in such a different way that because you learn so much from that and you can just really just really digest everything that's going on very differently. And that's why I can imagine when you're saying that you're affected by what's going on, but you're
Oh
affected in
yeah,
such a different
deeply,
way.
deeply.
And that doesn't
But
take away
as
from
I
that.
take that on, as I watch what's happening and how it's affecting the people around me, um, I'm still affected by emotionally, but it's just I'm I'm witnessing it, but without bias.
Wow,
That's a very
that is
hard place to
amazing.
get to be able to witness something that's happening and not judge it.
Hmm.
You still do all the things that are necessary, right, to help others who are in need, but you don't judge it. And when you don't judge something, or when you're no longer resisting something, that's when you're able to go through what's going on right now and not suffer from it. But that's the thing though. If I'm no longer suffering from it, then if I'm no longer suffering from that, I'm able to help my fellow man, as opposed to helping someone who's wounded when I'm wounded myself. Right? I'm no good to
That's
anyone if I can't. If someone's drowning in water and I can't swim, I'm no good to anyone. So I gotta learn how to swim so I can save you if you're drowning.
that's a great way to look at it. That's amazing. So where do you see Yinnergy evolving and growing in the future, and what are your kind of plans for what's to come?
The thing that sucks about this whole thing, I am not a business person. I'm not a business person in any way, shape, or form. So I have this product that works. Hundreds of people have said it works. And I have this model, this whole thing, this product and everything like that, but I don't have the desire to run a business at all. So this thing has always just been an extra, something extra in my toolbox. That if I meet someone who is in need of something, I have something that could help you if you're willing to use it. So that's what it's always been. But at the same time, I'm more than willing for it to expand. But I think I just have to meet the right group of people who want to take this whole thing and turn it into something, something that it could be. So I'm still open to that. But I know for sure that I don't want to be the one to run it. That I know. So right now it's just
Sorry, I
a
missed that
great
last
hobby.
part. What did you say? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to be the one that's going to run it. I don't want to be the one to run the company because I have no desire for that. But I do know that people can use this product, and there's other products like it, but there's a lot of people that can use this product, but I would need a group of people, strong-willed people who are willing to take that to the next level. But me personally, I don't have that commitment. I don't have that desire. I only have one desire, and that's is to realize absolute truth, ultimate truth. I don't have that desire to run an actual business. So, but I'm open to the idea of that. Right now, I think I like the nonprofit model. I like that model a lot. So just like what we're doing right now with the group meditations, there's no charge or anything like that. People come in and they meditate, they leave. Sometimes I don't even know you're in the virtual room unless you told me, because all I see is a number. I can see where people are meditating from, but I don't know who's in the space unless you left something in the chat room, in the chat area, or I'm just looking at the number on the screen of how many people are in there. So I'll find out days later when someone calls me and says, "Oh, I really benefited from that meditation." I was like, "You were in there? What day were you in there?" So I really like the model. I like volunteering this stuff. I like volunteering. I like there's a downside to giving things away for free. So yeah, I do charge for it, but I just love the idea. I love when I say charge for it, I'm talking about the actual individual soundtrack throughout the program. But of course, the group stuff, that's free. So I just love doing that. I like to spread that type of information to people who may need it. Should there be a value to that in this world? Yeah, there should be, because I realize too that if you give away something for free, the person doesn't treat it that way. They don't give much value to it. So it's like you do have to put a price to it. And so yeah, but if it turns into something bigger, I'm open to that. I just know I won't be the one to run it. Maybe I'll sell it. Maybe I'll sell the idea to someone. I have no idea. I just like where it's at right now, but it does have to grow at some point.
Okay, wow. Well, no, that's an amazing answer. And I implore everyone who's watching, if you're seeing this now, if you see this afterwards, to go, and especially if you can tune into the group meditation sessions, I highly, highly recommend it. I really enjoyed today's session. I thought you would be able to see me because it does plot it on the thing where you're from. So I was like, is it going to say Toronto? But it
Yeah.
didn't. I
The
didn't see
problem
my
with it
name.
though, the problem with it is if you're from Toronto and I have 50 people from Toronto, it would only show me the one dot from that area. Yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know how many people are actually meditating from Toronto. But on top, it will show me that there's 50 people in the space. But I don't necessarily know where they're coming from. Yeah.
Ooh,
So that's a
okay.
tricky thing. Yeah. So everyone probably thinks I know that they're in the space, but it's like I have no idea unless you tell me, or unless you put it into the chat room.
Oh, that's good to know. That could be an excellent an analytical thing to add to that, because that would definitely, in terms of promoting, in terms of,
Yes.
marketing, that's a
Because
good thing to
the
know.
friend of mine, a colleague of mine, he designed the site, right? So he has all say of how that site's being run. So I don't have any. It's very limited for me because I can only do what I can with that. But he's the one that's designed it, or he and his team, they designed it. So that's the way it's currently designed. So hopefully in the future we'll have more features on that where we can probably add like a Zoom type of aspect to that as well, and whatever. But I have no say. I'm just one of the teachers that's using the space. That's why.
Well, it looks incredible. They've done a
Yeah, it's really,
phenomenal
really
job.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's so much
no,
more I
I
would do with
definitely.
it if I had that option, so that I can see people, that type of thing. There's things that we could add to it, and these are things that we're talking about before, but I don't know what happened. So a lot of that stuff has been left on the shelf. But that's something that we would do, because that's been around. The Amplifield's been around for over 3 years now. Yeah, about over 3 years. So it's there, and any teacher who's doing meditations and they want to attract a larger group, they can use that space. They can use the Amplifield to set up their own virtual rooms and do meditations through that. Anyone can use it.
Oh, it's good to know.
Yeah,
Okay, awesome. So before, because I want to make sure we don't get cut off.
well, that's right.
Um, yeah, just in case. Could you tell the people where they can find you, where they can find Yinnergy, how they can get involved, what are your ads, all that info?
Well, keep in mind, Yinnergy is a hobby of mine. So I have no website. I don't have any of those things. It's just a hobby. It's something I just carry around with me. But if you're interested in something like that, people can email me. They can email me at innovativecoaching@gmail.com. So I'll say it again, innovativecoaching@gmail.com. People can hit me right here on Instagram, which is Morgan124875. And people always ask, why do you have so many numbers? Those numbers are actually significant. Those numbers, 124875, is the algorithm that I use to create energy. Yeah,
Oh,
so the
that's so cool.
124.875 comes from something called vortex-based mathematics. So I was taught a certain type of mathematics that I applied to energy. So that's the part that I forgot when you asked earlier about how I created energy. So I had to learn how binaural beats work, how carrier frequencies work, pitch frequency, beat frequency, but I also had to learn the mathematics. So once I learned the mathematics, and that was my individual, my unique, I should say, my unique take to energy, where I add the vortex-based mathematics to brainwave entrainment, and I'm probably the only one that has that combination. So that's what makes my product different than all the other products. Oh, and you can also reach me on Facebook, but I don't remember what my Facebook thing is. But yeah, but you can easily, people can easily find me. But yeah, I don't have a website or anything up. Again, once I build a team, someone will build it for me. I don't know. I'm just have the zeal.
Well, thank you so much, Morgan, for your time. I know you are a very busy man, so you taking time out to do this, it means so much to me. I know it means so much to the viewers, and I know that what everything we talked about here, I'm sure it'll be super beneficial to everyone who watches. And
Hmm.
I again implore everyone to, if you can in any way, access Energy, join the group meditation sessions, check out his YouTube.
Oh
I'll put the
yes,
information.
hit me up for
Mhm.
that too. If you're interested in the group meditation, hit me up directly, and I'll send you the private link. And I just want to say what's up to Nathan. He's always laughing. Nathan, he's a character. So he's a upcoming stand-up comedian. So look up for
Oh,
Nathan Griffith. I think that's his last name. Call him Nathan G. I don't know, but
Nathan
he's an
G.
upcoming comedian. Look out for him. And right now I'm just teaching him how to do stand-up. So teaching him how the joke, the writing process and all that stuff. So yeah, that part is something that I do within my job. So if you're looking to go through artist development, you can hit me up too through what I do, and I can help you with that as well. So,
I might hit you up about that personally.
oh yeah, yeah, feel free. Yeah, artist development. I love helping people with artist development. So,
And I can attest to you doing that back in the day for
back in
me.
the
So
day,
thank you so much. Seriously, I really appreciate it. And we will be in touch. And for everyone who's watching, if you are only coming in now or you missed any part of it, it will be up on YouTube as well. So stay tuned for the link for that. But again, thank you, Morgan. You have an amazing day.
you
And I hope
too.
you all are having a great weekend. Please stay safe, healthy, happy, all of that. And have a great one.
Take care, brother.
Thank you. Talk soon.